welcome to Crafty Little Things. I'm Andrew, thanks for joining me today. I am doing my Christmas card today. This isn't it, this is what I'm using as inspiration for the Joy of Set's Great Christmas Challenge 2018 album. As usual, I think it's number 17, 18 this week, right, I'm not sure. So this card I made last autumn, and it was the first card of its type that I'd ever made. And I made a few, I went a bit crazy, made a few, and I haven't really made one since. So it's been over a year, probably, since I made a card like this, I think. So I'm going to make this one again, but I'm going to make it a Christmassy one. Now, as ever, I'm using a mixture of Stampin' Up because I only ever use Stampin' Up cardstock, glues, inks, not stamps, inks and such, and so I'm going to be using all of those, but I'm also using this paper pad which I think I got from the Works Christmas Originals, and it's got a few designs, and the top of each of the designs is glittered. And it feels kind of like a thick vellum, to be honest. But yeah, I'm using some of those papers. I think this was only £1 from the Works. And I'm going to be using Cherry Cobbler and Very Vanilla cardstock from Stampin' Up. So I'm starting off with a piece of... Oops, my pad's upside down, didn't even notice that. I'm starting off with a piece of 10.5 by 5.5 Very Vanilla cardstock. It's a little bit difficult for you to see that against that paper, but anyway, it is there. And then you need lots of other bits and bobs. Well, one of the things I've got is one of these mini rosettes. I've got a piece of Cherry Cobbler ribbon. These are retired from Stampin' Up. And then I've got lots of pieces. I've used the Merry Mistletoe stamp set because I just love it, and I never used it enough last year to stamp Christmas wishes in Cherry Cobbler, and I've just used the sort of garland, hanging garland, to just stamp off in Garden Green. I think these papers match up quite nicely with these colours, so I'm going to try and tell you the measurements for all of these. There's lots of them, so bear with me. You're going to need 2 strips of cardstock. I mean, you don't need... I'm going to layer mine up, so there's going to be the Very Vanilla, then cardstock, and then DSP on top. You don't have to do that, but that's what I'm going to do. So I've got 2 strips here that measure 5 3/8 by 1 5/8. That's 2 pieces of the Cherry Cobbler cardstock. I've got 2 pieces of DSP which measure 1 3/8 by 5 1/4. So they're to go with those. Then I've got 2 smaller pieces of Cherry Cobbler here which measure 1 3/8 by 3 3/8. And then to go on top of those, I've got 2 pieces of DSP which measure 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. For my centrepiece, I've got a piece of Cherry Cobbler that measures 2 1/4 by 3 3/8. On top of that, I'm going to put a piece of DSP which measures 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then I've got a piece of Very Vanilla stamped from my sentiment which measures 1 3/4 by 2 7/8. Then I've got 2 pieces here which measure, this is the Garden Green cardstock, this measures 1 1/2 by 2 3/8. And on top of that there's a piece of DSP which measures 1 3/8 by 2 1/8. And then I've got 4 pieces of Garden Green which measure 1 1/4 by 1 1/2 by 1 6/8, with a piece of Very Vanilla to go on top of those which measures 1 3/8 by 1 1/2, and then a piece of this dotted DSP to go on top of that which measures 1 1/8 by 1 1/4. Okay, so lots of measurements there. So I'm going to put all these to one side for a minute. Everything's going to one side. And I'm going to focus on the base of the card. Now this measures, as I said, it's 5.5 by 10.5 inches. So I'm going to score on the long side. And we're going to score at 1 3/4, 3.5, 7 and 8.5. Okay, and then we're going to turn it around, and on the short side, on this first and last score line, we're going to mark it at 1.5 and at 4. So 1.5 and 4. So you're not scoring it, you're just marking it. 1.5 and at 4. Okay, and that's all the scoring we need to do. And now we're going to put it back in our trimmer, or you can use a knife and a ruler. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut a line between those marks. So your actual cut is going to be at 1.5, so you can actually line it up on here if you want, and just go between those 2 lines. Okay, make sure it's those 2 lines. You can do it, turn it around if you want. And do it again between those 2 outside lines. Right, so when you've done your cutting, you have to do scoring. And the way you want to score it is so that your card comes out with 2 sort of big diamonds and like a tray at the bottom. But you can do it however you want to do it. So you can do, you've got a valley fold there, a mountain fold there, a valley and a mountain on the top piece. On the bottom piece you've got a valley, a mountain and a valley. And in the middle piece you've got a mountain, a valley, a mountain and a valley. Okay, you see that? But for now we're just going to flatten it all out and we're just going to decorate it. Okay, so you get all my pieces, and you can decorate it more or less. You know, you can add on all sorts of things, embellishments and die cuts and all sorts of things, but I'm just keeping it nice and plain because that's what I'm like. So I'll start to layer it up. I'm not going to run you through this. Sometimes I speed you up while I'm doing this, but a couple of people recently have asked me, said they'd rather see me make the whole card. So whilst I'm, you know, there are people also who like it to be speeded up, so I'll do a bit of each. So we've got some variety going on. Pop the DSP on. This paper almost feels like, I said it feels like a vellum. It does, it feels like a sort of a wax relief embossed glittery vellum. It's an unusual sort of feel to it. And I mean, you can make these panels whatever size you want to make them. You don't have to do them the same size that I've made them, and you don't have to use the same colours. I do like to show how other products work with Stampin' Up, because a lot of card makers, we like to buy our stash from all over the place, or we've just recently started using Stampin' Up and we've got loads of stuff that we don't just want to throw it away. That would be crazy. It's not good for the environment or our pockets. So I do like to show sometimes. Keep it real. But I'm not a business focused demonstrator, so I just enjoy what I do. And I think even if you were a business focused demonstrator and you were trying to make people buy everything that you were using, then you can show how Stampin' Up, you know, colour coordinates with these things. You might have bought this, somebody might have bought this kit, this stack of papers at the works, and not be able to find anything to coordinate with it. Well, now they know, they go to Stampin' Up and grab themselves some cherry cobbler, garden green, cardstock and ink, some very vanilla. They'll be able to make some smashing cards. Oh, I'm already loving it. See, this image was a bit too big for me to get the whole thing on, so I kind of did the top and the bottom there because I did want to use it. I was going to use some glimmer paper in this one, but then I thought, no, I won't, because the papers, the DSP is glittery itself, so it kind of does the job for me. I haven't tried this out. I haven't even laid it out to see what it looks like, so I'll be as surprised as you are when it's finished. I must say this paper is gorgeous. The texture's lovely. Really lightweight. This one I'm going to pop on with dimensionals. These look a bit big. I'm wondering if I've used... oh no, they're right. I was wondering if I'd thrown away the pieces and saved the offcuts then. Which wouldn't be the first time. Oh, I love this card already. It's nice and fresh, isn't it? But very Christmassy at the same time. Now that piece, definitely feels too big. Let me just trim that down a little bit. I think I might have done what I said a minute ago. Use the offcut. Or maybe my measuring's just a bit out. Oops, sorry about that. Won't be the first time. I don't profess to be an expert when I'm doing this. I just think to myself, I know there's loads of people out there who know far more than I do about paper crafting and are far more skilled, but I just think to myself, when I started, I know more now than I did when I first started watching videos and trying to learn how to do things. And so there's someone out there who knows less than I do. And I might be able to help inspire them. And also I might be able to show people that sometimes you can be a bit of a messy klutz and still make nice things. Because that's what I am. That's so cute. How this is coming together. I really like it. These are great projects for kids as well, if you could get everything cut out in advance. I think that is my own an error with my own measurements, because all of those pieces have been off. So I think I could well have scored that 1/8 of an inch wrong, but never mind, because I can remedy it, and I'd definitely remedy it if I was doing this again. Can you see how, I don't think you can see, but it is cute. I have a little bits of glitter are popping up, and then I'm going to stick these pieces of DSP onto the very vanilla backgrounds, and then I'm going to fix them on with dimensionals, because I want them just to lift a little bit. Just going to trim that a tiny bit smaller, just so you can see that green behind. See me picking up imaginary piece of paper there. And again, I'm just gonna really carefully take a little piece off, just so you can see the green behind. So these pieces could do with being a tiny bit smaller. Maybe if I'd measured everything more accurately. Another problem. Okay, so I got a bit carried away there. It was just a little world of my own. So then I'm just going to attach these with dimensionals. I'm just going to pop a couple on each corner. I mean, I might regret this because it might stop the card from sitting nicely, but I just think it'll add something, some dimension, of course. That's what they're for. Okay. I'll put plenty on this one. I think what I like about this card is the way you've got your traditional and then you've got your little whimsical sort of playful as well with a little cartoony snowman, Santa. That might look nice with little buttons on it. Right, so now I'm going to pop on a little rosette. I can't take that backing off, so I'm just going to pop some glue on and leave it there. I'm going to just pop that onto there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a bit of glue on the back here and attach my ribbon to that part of the card. Just so that when it's open it doesn't fall off. So then when the card's closed you can tie it around, and then when it's open it can just lay. When it's open and it's stood up, the ribbon can just sort of hang around or be draped over the top, and then when it's closed it's tied up. Okay. And there we go. I'm going to turn it upside down because that's the way to get the best bow. And I'm going to pull it out like so. And there we have it. My little bow-tied multifold Christmas card, and I really like that one. I think it's so cute. So I'll be back again next Sunday with another one. Here we go. Take a nice picture and I can get it posted up ready for tomorrow. Okay, thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye bye.